Hello, welcome back into today's video, or today's second video. I've already done the second spring update, which you can find on the spring updates page. You can get to that from the links here on the homepage at gazlovids.com. So have a look at that if you want to see what the latest is for the coming season, for spring, in terms of the season models. This video is going to have a look at the next sort of week to 10 days. I think we're going to be in some colder weather coming through, actually, as we get through from around Wednesday onwards in towards the weekend. And the start of February, through the start of, excuse me, through the start of next week, we could see quite a potent northerly coming down, and there will be risk of snowing with that as well. But quite where that snow is, of course, it's far too far away to sort of determine what's going to be going on with that. Anyway, we'll have a look at all that in a moment. Just say about the ads. There's links to articles on most of the pages at gazlovids.com. If you have browse through the widget, which you'll find sitting just underneath the web video here on the homepage, you'll be able to see some articles that you're interested in, and if there is, you can just click through and you'll be able to go off and read those articles, and thanks so much for doing that. Now, let's start off with the stratosphere. We've got a bit of a stratospheric warming being forecast again through the first week of February. You'll remember that when we get stratospheric warmings over the top of the North Pole, if it's big enough, if it's a big enough warming, intense enough, it can propagate down into the troposphere. Troposphere is where weather takes place, of course, sort of a 500 millibar area in the atmosphere, and you get high pressure and low pressure forming in the troposphere. And when you get these warmings, these big warmings in the stratosphere over North Pole, eventually that can feed back in towards blocking areas of high pressure over the top of the pole. So it's one of the things, not the only thing, but one of the things that we look for to preclude, or to precede, I should say, northern blocking. This is the current position over the stratosphere in the North Pole at the moment on, what are we doing? The 25th of January today. So this is the situation today. And got a little bit of a minor warming already taking place actually over the pole. But as we run through, we can see that we're going to get more warming taking place. Actually, through the coming few days, it'll cool down a little bit. But then as we get through to around this sort of zone just here, which is the 31st of January, we begin to get some quite significant warming over towards China and Siberia. So warming with these yellow colours begin to occur at the very end of the month. If we carry on running through, you'll see that that warming intensifies into the first few days of February. So this takes up to the 2nd of February, and a very significant warming is occurring there over Russia, over Siberia, and beginning to infiltrate in towards the pole. Now, I've had these minor warmings throughout winter, so the blue colours here over the top of the pole are not as intense as they could be at this time of year. It's not desperately cold at this point this year over the top of the pole in the stratosphere, but this warming is beginning to infiltrate by the time we get through towards the first few days of February. We carry on running through, and we see that that warming, whilst it still doesn't quite reach sudden stratospheric warming levels, it's a very significant warming, not quite reaching the level of an SSW, but we do find that that significant warming infiltrates further in towards the pole, going through into towards the first few days of February. So this takes up to the 5th of February, and you can clearly see that the yellow colours are pushing in towards the top of the pole, this being top of the pole just here. So temperatures are shooting up. We're seeing something like a 20 to 30 degree temperature rise going on over top of the North Pole in the stratosphere during the opening few days of February, and then those blue colours just sort of push away down in towards Europe actually. As we go further on, this takes us to the 8th of February. The blue colour, which is really indicating the polar vortex, pushing down in towards Europe. The yellow colours infiltrating right over the top of the pole. That is a very significant warming being forecast to take place over the top of the pole during the first week of February. I'm not sure if it's quite a sudden stratospheric warming, for temperature quite gets intense enough, but it is a major warming that, and you can see that by the time we get through towards the end of this, the 10th of February, we've firmly lost the blue colours over the top of the pole. The polar vortex will still be there actually at 500 millibars, because it takes a while for this to propagate down into the troposphere. So at 500 millibars, the polar vortex will still be churning away. But up in the stratosphere, it's telling you that where the like the root of the polar vortex, if you like, where it's rooted to at the top of the atmosphere, it really will be coming under very, very severe and significant pressure by this warming if this does occur like this. And then a couple of weeks after that, we could start to see the warming going down into the troposphere and promoting potentially quite a lot of blocking, I would suggest, as we get through into the second half of February. So that could be one of the things we have to take into account when we're thinking about February forecasts, and possibly going on into March as well, that we could get some quite significant blocking if this does occur as the GFS is forecasting. It's all a little bit of a way away. It starts in around a week's time. A major warming begins to occur across Russia and pushing in towards the North Pole. So it's still a little way away, but certainly that is a pretty significant warming. Now, before we even start thinking about that, we've got quite a bit of cold weather coming up over the coming week. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation charts, ensembles, I should say, ensemble chart. And you see we are going colder than average. So we start off with a little bit of a zonal sine wave for the next few days. We've got warm and cold and warm sectors coming through over the next 3 or 4 days. But as you get through towards the end of January, this being the 29th of January just here, we're dipping down below average then. And we stay below average for several days, actually. Quite a prolonged period of cool or cold weather coming up there as we move through towards, say, the very end of January and the start of February. That goes from something like the 29th of January to the 5th of February. So good week, really, of quite below average cold or cool conditions coming through. We're not going severely cold, I've got to point that out. We aren't going sort of down to minus 10, minus 15 at 850 HPA. That's sort of severe cold temperatures when you get out to around minus 15 at 850 HPA, this sort of area just here. If we get down there, then we're talking about severe cold temperatures. We're not going as cold as that, but we are going cold over the coming few days, starting around Wednesday and then going through the weekend into the start of the first week of February. Beyond that, as we get through in towards, say, the 5th, 6th, 7th of February, then we start seeing the ensembles picking back up, but that's a long way off. There's quite a bit of scatter there. It's right at the end of the chart, so let's not worry too much about that. We're also bringing precipitation spikes through with these colder temperatures, so again, it's the idea that we had going on this week or last week, depending on whether you think Sunday is still last week or whether it's the new week. Whatever, it's still that same idea, but although it's going colder than average, we're still bringing precipitation spikes through. So still got to be thinking about wintry conditions, not widespread depths of winter type blizzards, but certainly some wintry conditions will be coming through at times. So let's see how all this works itself out. Here we are for Wednesday the 28th of January. We're bringing down low pressure around Iceland, and we're bringing the cold front through the country. That's going to bring a band of heavy rain and strong winds on Wednesday. That could turn to snow on the back edge. I may update Snow Watch later looking at that. It may stall a little bit in the east and the southeast and could turn a little bit wintry on the back edge. That pushes through by the end of Wednesday, and we go into this colder northwesterly phase. You follow the isobars back, the areas originating from Greenland, so that's pushing colder air down across the country. We move through into Thursday the 29th, and yeah, we're in that cold northwesterly flow across the country, and then things go northerly into Friday as we push this low pressure out to the east. We pull the winds into the north. Notice these little kinks in the isobars there, just little disturbances coming down in the flow. Could enhance the shower potential, producing longer spells of rain, sleet also, depending on whether there's warm sectors in there. We go through into next weekend, and this is quite interesting. Got this little area of low pressure here just to the south of Iceland that runs in through into Saturday. Does temporarily turn winds round to the west, but it's coming in to cold air, so we've got to watch out what's going on with that. There's a weather front within that somewhere through that sort of zone, probably a bit of a waving weather front on the northern eastern side. It's cold air, it's warmer air on the western side of that weather front, so we're going to have to try and pinpoint where that front's going to be, because on the northern and eastern side of it there will be the potential, I would think, for some wintry weather, maybe insignificant snow, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. That low pressure pushes through. Saturday could be a wet or a snowy day depending on where you are next Saturday, and then eventually the whole lot pushes eastwards as we go through into Sunday, and we return the winds into the north, then a proper northerly wind blasting down across the country by the time you get through to Monday the 2nd of February. To follow the ice bars back, they really do go a long way north, so that's very cold air coming down across the country before high pressure begins to topple in from the Atlantic. And as we get through today, Wednesday the 4th of February, actually we're beginning to see winds returning back towards the west to southwesterly, starting to bring this milder air back in. This winter, the pattern this winter is very much what I was expecting, really. With the winter forecast, I said there'd be a lot of fighting going on. We'd see cold air and milder air fighting against one another. Maybe the cold air's not been quite as strong as I thought it would be, but nevertheless, it's very much a fighting pattern that we've got going on this winter, where the warmer air and the cold air is looking for a ascendancy. It's looking to get the upper hand, and so far it's really been the milder air that has had the upper hand, but very much a fighting type winter, and that is more or less what we were expecting. And then going through to February, I was suspecting that we may go into a colder and more generally colder pattern. The ECWF shows all this as well. In fact, it's even colder than the GFS, and the reason is that we don't bring that system through on Saturday, we don't bring it through as much. So here we are on Thursday, again putting down this cold west to northwesterly flow. We go through it into Friday. The low pressure, the trough, is pushing eastwards, allowing the winds to go into the north. So it gets colder from Wednesday to Thursday to Friday. Temperatures should be dropping into a proper northerly midnight Saturday. Friday ice bars back again, coming from a long way north, so that's going to be cold air coming down. And then into midnight sunny. That's the low pressure there that the GFS wants to bring down across the country. The ECWF has that still to the south of Greenland at midnight on sunny, so we're still in this very cold northerly wind. Eventually that does come down as we go through to midnight on Monday the 2nd of February, but it's a much shallower feature. You notice that it's much shallower, much further west as well. It doesn't push right across the country and develop into a big area of low pressure like the GFS is doing. So the front with that one is much further west. It's somewhere in that sort of zone, so more of the country is within the cold air next weekend, and the snow risk is probably to the west and to the southwest, although of course there is snow showers coming down with that northerly wind as well. We move through into Tuesday, midnight Tuesday 3rd of February, and we're back into that northerly. Then the low pressure's gone off to the south, it pulls winds back into the north. That brings snow showers through. Go through to Wednesday the 4th of February. We're still in that northerly action instead of the high pressure toppling over the country by day 10, trying to reintroduce west to southwesterlies. The ECM wants to keep us still in this northerly to northeasterly, and again it's another little disturbance there in the south, could just be enhancing risk of snow showers. That's a very wintry run from the ECWF, and look how cold the air is just to the north of us, really poised there for very cold air to start to push down across the country by day 10. So there's no quick way out of that actually. It will stay cold for quite a few days, probably even after that chart. So the ECWF is really wintry this morning. From Wednesday onwards it just gets colder really through the weekend and into the start of next week, the first week of February. The GFS is more toned down. It is cold, but because we bring that system through at the weekend, there will be wintry potential with that, but it's not such a cold run. The ECWF is one of the coldest runs we've probably had this winter. We've got to see how it pans out, but certainly I think we are going to get some colder weather through the middle and last stage of this week into next weekend, and then the week after next I think we'll be looking at some pretty cold weather for maybe 5 days, maybe even a little bit longer. There'll be wintry potential in with that. It could start as early as Wednesday. So, I may update Snow Watch later on this evening, come back for that. That's all for now. I hope you found the video interesting. Don't forget to check out the second spring forecast. That's all for now. Bye for now.